Hi, so I'm out here at my root garden, and I came out way earlier today and prepped, and then I have been doing some planting, and I'm about 2/3 done. And so when I came out earlier, I did some weeding. I got the grass out and went around the edges like I mentioned yesterday, and I also had some sunflower stumps to clean out, and I did that. And then I went over it lightly with a rake and to make sure I got everything and to kind of scruff it up. And then what I do is I mark the corners of the garden with some stakes, and the biggest reason I do that is to mark the garden so if I continue to mulch during the winter, which if the snow isn't too deep and I can drag my wagon out here, when I clean the coops, I just drag the litter right out here and keep piling it on right on top of the snow. So I kind of want to mark where the garden is so I can tell under the snow exactly where it's at, and I can hit the garden instead of the path. And the other reason, probably it helps a little bit kind of, visually for me to mark the rows too. And that was the second thing I did. After that was I marked out the rows with some garden stakes, and I marked out 10 rows. I wanted to plant 200 cloves, so I marked out 10 rows, 20 cloves per row, and then I dug some trenches here to plant. Now, when I plant large quantities of anything, I dig little trenches like this because for me to dig 200 holes, I'm just not going to go there. So I also use this technique for other reasons for my tomatoes, which I've been doing for decades, but it works really well for any large quantity of planting that you may want to do, and I've done this in herb beds as well. So I guess another benefit of a mulch garden is the ground is really soft and moist, and so it's really easy to do this. So there's two tools that I use. Primarily, they're my two favorite garden tools, and one of them I call the claw, and I think it's probably called a hand cultivator or something. But anyway, it's a three-pronged tool here, and I use this to scrape one way down the row to clear away the mulch and to get it down to the dirt and dig into the dirt a little bit. And then I use my two-pronged hoe, which I like this one the best because it's got like a square shape to it, and it makes a really nice, even, nice trench. So I go back the other way and get the trench down to about 4 inches, about the depth, the length of the hoe. So as you can see, it makes a really nice trench here. And so then what I do is, like I said, I've got about 6 rows already planted, but I have 2 rows here. This is kind of like the cooking show where you see the ingredients, and then the next, when you come back from commercial, you see the cake coming out of the oven. But anyway, I already pre-planted 2 rows here, and so what I do is, once I have my trench, I just pop the garlic right in the trench, and because some of these varieties that I bought, it came out to 15 instead of 20 per half pound. This one's spaced probably about, it looks like 7-8 inches. And then some I had more, so I planted them closer, like the more traditional, maybe 4 inches apart. But anyway, what I do is, probably the most easiest instructions that we all know to do to plant is to, you take a clove, and it has a pointy end, and it also has an end that's flat and round, and if you look at it really close, you can see it's knobby on the end there, and that's where the roots will pop out eventually. So I just take that and you put the flat round in right bottom down, and I kind of push it in a little bit just to keep it firm, so when I cover it up, it stays upright, which, if it doesn't do that, if it falls over, that's not a real big deal. And then I mark my row. I write on the stake with a Sharpie, so I'm not real fancy here. And however, even though Sharpies say permanent, eventually that will wear off, which actually makes it nice if you want to rewrite it, reuse it again. But I write the name of the variety, unless everything's the same variety. I write, or the plant name or whatever, right on the stake with a Sharpie, so that seems to work out really well. And then I take a rake, and I'll just do this with my hand, but because there's dirt on either side of the row, I just kind of rake it and just cover it right over, and that's it. So it's really easy to bury. I just follow along with the rake on either side and bury the garlic. And then I also mark the end of the row too, just to again, just to kind of keep keep track of where everything is. And once it sprouts up, then I'll know where all the garlic is, and I can take the stakes down if I want. But anyway, so that's it. And then I will probably go get some clean straw and cover this up with a layer of clean straw. It'll probably take about 2 bales, and then probably before winter, I'm pretty sure before it snows, I'll get another layer of litter on here from the coops. And again, if I'm able to, I'll just keep piling it on through the winter, and we'll come back out here in the spring and we'll check on it, and we will follow this through next year, through harvest. So I have a lot of new varieties in here, and I'm actually going to be able to plant 2 rows of my Italian, as it turns out. Didn't quite have enough to fill this all with new varieties, but that's okay. It'll be still good to plant some of my Italian. And I just want to point out one last thing. Sometimes we pick things because they have a cool name. So sometimes I don't get real scientific about it, and I'm hoping to see how this Susan D does. And it's a porcelain hardneck. So anyway, we'll come back out here in the spring and we'll see how these new varieties do.